This is lesson 5 from our series, How to Play Blues Guitar. In this lesson, I'm going to teach you how to add a turnaround and an ending to your 12-bar blues form. Be sure to download the free corresponding How to Play Blues Guitar e-guide. It includes all the charts and diagrams for this lesson, as well as all the charts and diagrams for the whole series. So now we're going to spice up your 12-bar blues with what are called a turnaround and an ending. And a turnaround takes you from the 12th bar and does something to get you back to the first bar so you can start over, or it turns around. It turns around from the ending of the 12-bar progression to the beginning. And an ending is exactly like it sounds. It ends the 12-bar blues progression. And there's lots of ways to play turnarounds and endings, but in this lesson I'm going to teach you a simple turnaround and a simple ending that can take you a long ways. You can use it indefinitely. It's not something that's only for beginners, but it's more simple than a lot of ones that I'll show in upcoming lessons. So first I'm going to demo this. I'm going to play the 12-bar blues, and the first time through the 12-bar blues, at the end of it, I'm going to play the turnaround, and then I'm going to start back over on the first bar of the 12-bar blues, and then obviously go through it again, and then that time, the second time through, when I hit the 12th bar, then I'm going to do the ending. So the first time through the 12-bar blues, I'm going to do the turnaround to start me over back at the beginning. The second time through, I'm going to end the 12-bar blues with the ending. So here's a demonstration of that. So I'm sure you could hear how much of a difference that makes adding in a turnaround and ending. It really spices it up and lets the listener or the band members that you're playing with know where you're going, because the turnaround lets everyone know you're starting over, the ending lets everyone know you're ending. So now I'm going to go to a close-up and show you exactly what I was doing. So the most important thing to understand about a turnaround and ending is where they land in a 12-bar blues. And other variations can come in a little earlier, but this is where these simple versions come in. And even if another variation comes in a little earlier, they still end in the same spot to get you back to the first bar. If it's a turnaround, or if it's an ending, it just ends the 12 bars progression. So first we'll start with the turnaround. And the first thing I'm going to show you is what chord I'm playing on the turnaround. And when you play a chord like this, you're playing the 5 chord of the key you're in. And since we're in the key of A, that means I'm playing an E chord. And everything we've done up to this point has been power chords. So the 5 chord was an E5 or an E power chord. But now I'm going to play an E7 chord. And if you remember back to the first lesson in the series, I said that typical blues are either going to be power chords or they're going to be dominant chords. So a 7 chord is a dominant chord. So the E7 that I was playing looks like this. And that's your second finger on the 4th string 2nd fret, your first finger on the 3rd string 1st fret, and then either your 3rd finger or your 4th finger on the 2nd string 3rd fret. And since this is an E7 and your lowest note is an E, your lowest open string, you can let that string ring out. But you want to mute the 5th string, and I'm muting that with the tip of my 2nd finger. And technically you could leave open the 1st string as well, because that's an E as well if you know the strings of your guitar. So you could leave that open. But I'm just muting it out by lightly resting my 1st finger on it, or the tip of my 3rd finger, just because I don't need it in there. It works either way though. And what I'm doing when I play this E7, which you probably notice, is I'm sliding it up so I hit it. And when I first hit it, a lot of times I don't hit that open E just to start off with. So I'm hitting those three strings, the fourth, the third, and the second strings, and sliding up half a step without hitting it again. So it'd be, and then going back down and hitting it, and this time I usually do hit that sixth string. That first time that I'm hitting this, right there, that combined with this slide into this, half a step up, is all part of the same note value, and it's an eighth note. So that would all be one count. I'll count it out as I go through, so if that's really confusing, don't worry about it. But just realize it happens really quick. So it's like I just hit this half a step up chord, but really I'm just sliding fast into it. And then I go back down, hit the E7 again, and then I strum it 3 more times. And then after I strum it 3 times, I actually let go of the string. Since I'm in the key of A, this works out. It won't work in all keys, but since I'm in an open position with the key of A and a lot of the open strings work, I actually hit that last strum on open strings. And you can hit the first strings, the first 3, or I kind of hit the second, third, and fourth strings a lot of times. And right there, that transitions me back into the 1 chord on the first bar, which is back to that A5. Let me play it really slowly, and then I'll count it out for you so it's easier to see what I'm talking about. And right there, right where I hit that A5, that's starting over on the first beat of the first bar. So that's where you'd start the 12-bar blues over. So that's all happening in the 12th bar. So the very end of a 12-bar blues, because from that 12th bar, you're going to start over with this. And so if I go back to the 11th bar, which is that A5, the 1 chord again, you would have 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Right there is the first beat of the last bar, so the 12th bar, and then from there is where you go into that turnaround. And then there you're back at the beginning. So if I'm starting on that 11th bar again, let me count it all the way through the turnaround so you can hear where this happens. And again, we're dealing with 8th notes like you've learned, so I'll be counting 8th notes as I go. So this is the 11th bar on the A5, which is the 1 chord. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. So right there, right where I said 1 again, I'm back at the first bar, starting the 12-bar blues over, and that was the first beat of the first bar on the A5 chord, your 1 chord again. So really slowly again, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. So the strums are down on the first beat of the 12th bar, and then it's an 8th note rest, so it'd be 1 and, while you don't play anything, and then a down strum on the 2, which slides in half a step, so that's 2. And then this is an and on a down strum back on the E7, and then you count that to 3, so and 3, and then it's up, down, up, and that last up is on the open string, so up, down, up, and that would be and 4, and now you're back on the 1 chord in the first bar, 1. And if you're not good at counting, or that's just too much to think about, don't worry about it too much. Just really feel it. Just listen to it over and over again and just really feel it. Listen to me playing it slowly. Don't worry about counting it if that's tripping you up. Just really feel where that turnaround happens, because it's really important where it happens, because obviously it's a turnaround. It needs to get you back to the top. And if you do that wrong, it's going to trip you up. And then if you're playing with other musicians, it'll just become a mess. Now the ending comes in at the exact same spot, but this time instead of using the 5 chord, which we use E7, we're going to use the 1 chord. But instead of playing that as a power chord, we're going to play it as the dominant chord too. So that's going to be an A7. And the voicing I was playing was this. And that's your open 5th string. And then with your first finger, you're going to bar in the second fret your fourth string, third string, second string. And then with your second finger, you're going to fret the first string, third fret. So open, second fret, second fret, second fret, third fret. And that's your A7 chord, which again is a dominant chord. So it comes in the same place, it starts in the same place as the turnaround started. So you're in the 12th bar, you hit that A5 once on 1, and then there's an 8th note rest, just like there was with the turnaround, and then it's 2 and this time we're starting half a step down with that exact same shape, and then going half a step up to end it. But we're not doing a slide like we did with the E7. You play the A7 shape, except half a step down, so technically it's a flat 7 shape, but you mute out the 5th string when you play it half a step down because that'll really clash with this chord. So you're just playing the 4th, 3rd, 2nd, and 1st strings, and then you go to the A7, and then you can let that 5th string ring out, and that's where you end it. So 1 and 2 and you can hold that to the end if you want to, or cut it short. But from there, that's the end of the blues progression. You're not starting back over on the first bar. That's the very end. That's how the band knows, that's how everyone listening knows that's the end of the progression, because the 12-bar blues can just go over and over and over again, and you can just keep playing turnarounds to repeat the 12-bar blues over. And a 12-bar blues one time through is called a chorus, so it's different than like a pop song chorus. So you can play as many choruses as you want in a 12-bar blues. You can just play it over and over and over again. But when you do that ending, that lets everyone know that you're ending the 12-bar blues. So let me start in the 11th bar again and play this ending really slow, and I'll count it out. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and that's the end of the 12-bar blues. So if you want the blues to start over, play the turnaround. If you want to end the 12-bar blues, play the ending. And like I said, these are simple variations, not simple as in that they're not used all the time or not common or useful, but there are turnarounds especially. That's kind of like a classic ending, but there are other turnarounds that add in extra notes and different licks and things that can be a little more complicated, a little harder to play, but I'll get to those in upcoming lessons. For now, this is a really useful way to turn a 12-bar blues around. And just remember, when you turn around a 12-bar blues, it's with the 5 chord, and when you end a 12-bar blues, it's with the 1 chord. So since we're in the key of A, I turned it around with the E7, and when I ended it with the A7, because A is the 1 chord, E is the 5 chord. So for practice, just get the turnaround and the ending down. First, you can start by playing the chord for the turnaround, which was E7 in this case. Get that chord down. Then you can work on sliding that chord up half a step and back down, just so you can get used to being able to play that. And then you can actually work on the timing of the turnaround and just play it exactly like I showed you, but do it really slowly, out of time, meaning you're not doing it to a backing track or a metronome or anything. Just do it really slowly. Try to count it. If counting's tripping you up too much, do it without counting. Just really try to feel it, because like I said, the timing of it's really important as far as where it falls within the 12-bar blues. That's really important. But just do it over and over again until you can do it. You can start with the 11th bar just on the 1 chord, playing that, and then do your turnaround, and then just keep looping that over and over until you can play it perfectly, and then you can play that to a backing track so that you're actually playing in time. And then do the same thing with the ending. Just play that chord first to start with, that A7, play it over and over just so you can actually get it under your fingers, and then work on going from half a step down with that shape and back up and getting that under your fingers, and then work on starting with like the 11th bar again, playing from the 11th bar and ending in the 12th bar with that A7. And then once you have that down, once you have the turnaround and ending down, you can start all the way back at the beginning of the 12-bar blues and then play through the 12-bar blues. Every time you hit that 12th bar, play the turnaround, and do the turnaround every time that you want to start over, and you can play it as many times as you want. And then the last time when you're ready to end, play the ending. And like with everything, do it out of time. Don't play it to a backing track or a metronome at first. Just play it really slowly so you can get it under your fingers, and then do it to the backing track once you're really comfortable with it. So that's how to play a turnaround and ending in a 12-bar blues. In the next lesson, I'm going to teach you 5 shuffle pattern variations to help spice up your shuffle patterns or your boogie pattern. So thanks for watching, and be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and keep moving forward.